Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Azeroth Daily for the 14th or 15th of January 2011, depending on where you are in the world. My name is TotalBiscuit, bringing you your daily dose of WoW news and comment. In the headlines today, Blizzard has released what they have described as a short story, although what most gamers would probably describe as a bloody novel, a 17-page short story regarding the leader of the Alliance, Gen Greymane, specifically the leader of Gilneas. It's called Lord of His Pack, and it looks like it's pretty damn well written, and it also has some pretty pictures in it, so if you want to go check that out, I'd highly recommend it. The artwork is actually done by the guys behind the DC comic Curse of the Worgen, so it's pretty legit, honestly. And I'm thinking about this. I'm going to have to ask Blizzard for permission for this, but I'm thinking about putting together an audiobook of this particular short story. It's one in a series. They're planning on releasing several more. The first one was called Heart of War, and it was regarding Garrosh Hellscream. Nowhere near as long as Lord of His Pack, but you can check it out nonetheless. I've put the link to both in the description below this video. Blizzard has released a new guide for those of you brand new to the game in regards to key binding, and I would highly recommend that you check it out if you've just started. And a lot of you veteran players are saying, well, why would you even mention this? Well, have you any idea how many new players have actually got watching this show? Quite a few, and I presume that you would like to have new players know what the hell they're doing, so they won't wipe you in your daily pugging. So there you go, folks, giving you that information for the good of the community. Go check it out if you have any questions whatsoever about key bindings. The latest European community news has been released, including information from Polish site Battle.net.pl, who have translated Ghostcrawler's latest blog, WoW Dungeons Are Hard. Also, World of Warcraft Italia has updated its Quest Translator 2 add-on, so that's very nice indeed, and there's a lot of other stuff for our non-native English-speaking friends, so you might want to go check that out. Also, the weekly roundup of comics, as well as a forum watch for useful and interesting threads. And with that, it's time for your Daily Blues. After sifting through the blue posts today, I found only one that was actually worth reading, in my honest opinion. Some of you will no doubt disagree, but this was an interesting thread, and it came in from Melochius. Now, his writing is not exactly what I would call particularly good, but bear in mind he is on the EU forums, might not be his native language. And there's a big back and forth between people within this thread and Rixian, and this thread isn't very long at all, but I'm very surprised by this, considering the amount of blue attention it's actually had. This is in regards to changing the item level dungeon entry system. And he's going on about basically how it can be very easily gamed, it can be avoided, and it causes a hell of a lot of problems for pugs. And indeed, he actually fairly eloquently goes on to say that there needs to be a rethink of it and sets out some reasons for it. Now, Rixian wades into the thread with a number of responses here, and I have to say that a lot of these I would actually disagree with. He is very detailed in it, and I'm very grateful for that he's actually engaged them there. And the first post is in regards to the fact that this guy was able to bypass the heroic limit by simply having some PvP gear in his bags, and once he got rid of that, he suddenly wasn't allowed back into the heroics. And I would sort of have to agree with him that that's a very, very odd system indeed. And Rixian goes on to say that, hey, you could just create a dungeon group yourself and group up with friends and guildmates instead. Although people later on in the thread accurately pointed out that that wasn't really the point, and you also ended up missing out on a bunch of benefits if you didn't use the dungeon finder, and they would of course be correct in that assumption. You lose out on badges and such. The responses get progressively more controversial as he goes on, including this post right here whereby he's saying, oh, well, there's a kick feature, so you're fine. Now, last time I checked, there was a delay put in place until you could actually kick somebody, so you're still talking about somebody wasting the time of another 4 people by circumventing the intention of the system, by the sounds of it. At least that would be my interpretation of it. However, Rixian seems to disagree with this one right here, and actually goes as far as to say, and this is actually a quote from Ghostcrawler's blog, that congratulations on being sneaky if you are sophisticated enough and gain the item level requirements. Wow, seriously? To me, that seems like a blatant abuse of the system, which is almost guaranteed to waste everybody else's time. I have to ask what the purpose of the system is. Don't give me the whole, it's a guideline. No, it's not a guideline. It's a hard limit that's being gamed because it's not a good enough system. Don't give me this guideline nonsense. If it was a guideline, then you'd be able to enter if you were just a few off, but you can't do that. There is no leeway there. The only leeway is the fact that the system doesn't even work properly. So the idea that you're even encouraging people, hey, congratulations, you're a clever guy. You've managed to circumvent the system and now potentially are going to waste a bunch of random people's time. That is a disgraceful thing for a blue to say. I'm sorry, and I'm not blaming Rixian here because he's quoting a higher power, i.e. Ghostcrawler, but the fact that Ghostcrawler actually said that is absurd. And honestly, to me, that indicates that they're not taking complaints about the current state of the Dungeon Finder seriously, and I would be very, very concerned about that. Either you have it, or you don't, when it comes to the actual limits. You can't half-arse it and say, oh, well, it's possible to sneak in, tee-hee-hee. No, that just indicates a broken system, so I would like a ruling on that one way or the other, frankly. I don't pug very often, honestly, but when I do, I prefer to make sure that people aren't going in there with PvP gear or random cloth that they've somehow managed to ninja in their bags, and then suddenly realizing, oh, we're gonna have to kick them. Oh, we can't do that for the first 10 minutes. Or indeed, maybe we can't do that for longer than that because of that crazy-ass invisible numbers karma system they've got going on in the background. Yeah, I would prefer not to have to deal with that. And with that, it's time for your daily grind. This one goes by the name of I Ain't Saying You a Gourd Digger. Oh, that hurts. That hurts to say. It burns in my mouth. Whatever the case, this is your normal everyday collectathon, or is it? There is something sinister beneath the cabbage patches. In this case, all of these rotten fruit and vegetables actually turn out to be various monsters, including the sinister squashling, the corn zombie, and this apple wraith that casts rotten to the core. The puns, they hurt! Avoid at all costs if you're looking to not gouge your eyes out. And with that, it's not time for your weekly feature. I'm very sorry, but Facebook is broken today. I can't even browse the images, so that's going to have to go on Monday's show. So you'll get a double feature on Monday. So sorry, it's a bit shorter show than usual. So with that, it's time for the mailbox. This one comes in from Lyra, who says, I just want to point out something to everyone, since some people clearly don't seem to understand yet. Healing nowadays ain't like Wrath, where I could spam a quick and strong heal without having to worry about mana. However, in the Cataclysm, this all changed. Yes, people, healers can and they will. And what happens when the healer goes Yes, you all die. So keep a few things in mind. 1, do not stand in fire. 2, do not stand in mines. Actually, never mind, just don't stand in anything that's on the ground, and also eat when you can. Your healers will love you if you do. And one more thing which is most important, don't kick healers because they can't out-heal something that does 200,000 damage and kills you instantly. Instead, move a bit to the right or left and you're fine. I'm saying this on the fact that people get kicked from dungeons simply because, quote, they can't heal. Instead of whining, take a look at what you did wrong and correct it up. That has been a public service announcement from Lyra, and I couldn't agree more. Hello, TB. This one comes in from Fred, who says, I have a bit of a quandary I'd like some help with. 5 years ago, I began playing WoW with a bunch of friends, and we had fun for about 2 years. Then around 2 months past the release of Wrath, I found myself enjoying the game less and less, because endgame content was revealed to mean squat to me. In essence, PvP and PvE raiding was never something I ever enjoyed, due to the fact that it all revolved around getting the good gear so that I could get the better gear in order to get the best gear, and then wait 3 months for the next major patch. Somebody's certainly been listening to Yahtzee. Anyway, lather, rinse, repeat. So, I quit WoW and I haven't touched the game for about 3 years, but the new expansion ignited my interest once again. Because the one thing I liked about WoW has apparently been revised to a major extent. I'm of course speaking to leveling. Yes, I am quite mad. But to get to the point, my question is this. Is there really a point in buying the expansion pack and an additional month's worth of playtime only to play it for the leveling experience? Money isn't really my problem, it's the principle of purchasing a game that limits my time of enjoyment. I'm asking you this because you've had hands-on experience since the beta. I don't know. I mean, it comes down to cost effectiveness for entertainment for me. If I were to buy it for leveling, this would probably be the best expansion ever for buying for leveling, because the leveling is pretty much great. At least the 1 to 60 and the 80 to 85 content. Level 60 to 80 is lacking. Why? Because it's all still the old stuff. So, I suppose it depends, do you really want to level through the TBC and Wrath content again in order to get to 80 to 85? Or do you want to, of course, take your 80 that you, I assume, already have to 85 as well and experience the content there? There's a lot of room for alts, that I will say. There's at least room for playing 2 at a bare minimum, probably more than that, to experience all of the questing content. And I think you'll have a lot of fun there. Is it worth your money? That is an entirely personal choice. because I don't know how much you value your dollar in terms of entertainment. There are some people that won't go to the movies because they think it's not very good value for money. There are some people that would not blink twice at that investment. It varies, and there's a whole microcosm of people that have all manner of different attitudes in that regard. But what I will say is there's a lot of leveling content. You do level faster than you used to, certainly, without question, but there is incentive to play through it multiple times. The only sticking point to me is when you hit 60, you're going back to the Outlands, and suddenly it goes back to the way it used to be, which wasn't, by any stretch of the imagination, as good. But yes, the leveling content is the best that it has ever been, and if I were in your shoes and money didn't really mean all that much, then yeah, I'd go for it. Does it limit my enjoyment? Arguably, but the game also limits my enjoyment because it invests in PvP content that I don't like doing. You don't have to enjoy the entire game in order to get good value for money out of it. Hell, there's a bunch of raid dungeons that I've never actually beaten. Do I feel entitled to beat them? No. Do I feel like I've been ripped off because I haven't beaten them? No. It's okay. I don't have to beat a game to feel that I've gotten my money's worth out of it. This one comes in from Bareen, who says, "Hello, TB. I was just wondering about multi-boxing. Yesterday, when you talked about multi-boxing, you pointed out it isn't against Blizzard's policy, or at least that is what I got from what you said. But I thought that multi-boxing required the use of a bot, which is against Blizzard's policies. Or is that an incorrect assumption?" Yes, it is, in fact, an incorrect assumption. Multi-boxing is not botting. It is mostly done via key cloning. So there are still inputs going in. It is not automated. Some people would argue, well, you're automating 5 characters with a single key button press. Okay, I suppose you are, but to be fair, that's not botting. It can't do anything without your direction. That's the point. It can't automatically run up to that dude and attack it. That is botting. Just because you're controlling 1 character, 2 characters, 5 characters, 10 characters, etc., just because you're using key cloning for that, that doesn't mean you're botting. As to whether you think multi-boxing is right, well, Blizzard certainly does. As to whether or not that's financially motivated, that is a very easy question to ask. Yeah, it really is. Oh, this guy's paying for 5 World of Warcraft accounts. We're sure gonna put a stop to that. No, you're not. Honestly, especially when it doesn't break the rules of the actual game. There are some people that responded and said, oh, we got beaten by multi-boxers in PvP, etc., etc., which I find personally hilarious. Honestly, like, you got your asses kicked by 1 guy. It's like some crazy kung fu movie where you all just run in one at a time and get absolutely hammered. But, I can understand why that would be, but at the end of the day, if you've got 2 people running a Warsong Gulch, they can't be everywhere at once, and if you're still getting beaten by them, then I'd say you need to revise your tactics a little bit. Whatever you think of multi-boxing, it is legit, it is currently legal, and while not endorsed by Blizzard, it's certainly a case of they will not ban for it, and they are okay with it happening. That's not going to change at any point in the near future, so you just need to learn to accept that. But no, it is not botting. Key cloning is not botting, and if you want to learn more about multi-boxing, I'll put a link in the description below this video where they've got a whole bunch of information on how it actually operates. Okay, folks, I am done for the week. Thank you very much for watching Azeroth Daily. Remember to thumb it up if you like it, and thumbs it down if you don't. Sorry for missing an episode. I know this episode was a little bit late. Had issues, as I've already discussed, and I don't really need to repeat them. I'll be back on Monday with yet more Azeroth Daily content, and also bring you the postcards from Azeroth that we missed out today due to the Facebook error. And it turns out that show actually wasn't all that short after all. Looks like I can waffle on. Surely a talent I did not know I had. I'll see you next time.